So there's a issue put in about sort of a workflow being unclear for confidential merge requests, and I thought this would be a good way for me to spend some time playing with confidential merge requests and making sure that we can clean up those docs and make them better. So I'm going to share my screen to sort of walk through the docs and the way I interpret them currently, and sort of what we expect the workflow to be inside of a group. So we'll start here. This is a group. So I'm the owner of this group, and I'm in this group. Here is a public project inside of this group. I'm also the owner here, so like I've got some slightly elevated permissions, but permissions that would you had sort of all of these, you could get down this path. So public project, and then inside of my public project, I've got a confidential issue. So we would consider this to be a something that we don't want displayed in our public group, in our public project. We're trying to hide this. Probably a security issue that we want to fix. The UI in here then presents, instead of create a merge request, it says create a confidential merge request. And just for comparison, we'll do this really quick. We'll do this is a public issue. And you can see it. This would create a merge request. And so if I did the public issue one, create a merge request, it sort of does that automatically. Takes you, puts it in draft. It's in the same project, all inside of there, named everything. In our confidential issue, because we don't want to work on the confidential issue and have a merge request that would be visible publicly, because this is a public project, and so people would be able to see the commits and see what we're trying to fix prior to that fix being available and deployed in the application. What that means is we now have, we need to do this somewhere else. And so the process in GitLab is that you do this in a private project, a fork. It's a private fork. You do the merge request there, you get it completely reviewed, merged into the default branch of that project. And once everything's ready and you're ready to cut a release on your main project, you would go and you'd create a merge request that targets your confidential or your private fork into your public project. Get that merged, doesn't need another review because that's already happened. And then you tag your release and you're good to go. So let's make sure that works out. So let's create a confidential merge request. And so this is saying, create a confidential merge request and branch. There's no project, so no forks are available to you. This project's issue is confidential. Fork the project and set the fork's visibility to private. So we should do that because we don't have a sort of, I guess the first piece here is this helper text. So we need to we need to fork the project. So here's where it's going to let me go and see forks new. Our group was um, um, it's this, but this is a subgroup. Um, I cannot seem to make this into a private fork. So let me, hmm. Okay, this seems to sort of fall apart here. I wonder if really what I need is like a subgroup. Let me see what the docs say. Hmm. All right, let me look at these docs. So, um, let me stop this one. All right. So this sort of seems to, Says when private forks are created in the same group or subgroup. I don't, it does not seem possible um, to do this in the same group. The intent here would be that we probably have another group. We probably do, which is I think actually how the GitLab project is set up. We probably do like this. Probably create a security group, which is private. And because I'm a member, I can just check this settings. Subgroup information members. So technically, yeah, so my membership into this group is inherited from the parent group. So that would work. So if we go back up here, we could go to this, go back to our issue. Create a confidential merge request. No, so now we're going to fork it. What we're going to do is we're going to fork this into this project. Oops, do that wrong. Select fork into this project. And it is private. Based on, I guess, going through that workflow. So this one did fork as private here. And then if we go back to our confidential issue now, because that's not here. Create a confidential merge request. Now we have a group to do that in. Yeah. So if we do this, now in our private project, our security project, this project, here's the merge request. So this is essentially private because of the parent permissions of the project. So I think the piece that's probably broken here is that you've got to do this in a subgroup. And I don't know if that's a change. I don't know if that's a change from a workflow that we don't allow you to create a duplicate project in the namespace. That probably makes sense. You'd have to have a different name for the slug. So doing it in a subgroup makes the most sense. So we should probably just clean up the docs and say there needs to be a subgroup to do this. But that covers off on the inheritance piece and make sure you've got the permissions, assuming everyone that's a member of the parent project and group flows down. That works there. And then you can go through that process. So it's really like that first piece of getting that security project set up is probably the painful piece. And then once that is done, it'd be relatively easy probably to keep this project up to date. You would keep your private fork up to date for everyone. And you'd everyone would collaborate on security issues inside of that project. I don't know. I'm going to post this to YouTube, and then I'll certainly talk this over with the team and see what they think about this, and look for any improvements that we can make there, at least in the documentation to get us started. But that is how that process works for now. Thanks.